Welcome to the Business is War podcast. My name is Elliot Foreman, and today we're going to speak about something that is extremely important to me. Not only is it about business, but it's about the business of the people. I feel like in more modern times, we've gotten wiser and weaker. Our children are not progressively moving at the same pace that maybe the previous generations did. So what's happening? Are we putting something in the food? Is there a big conspiracy theory that the government's working against us? Are the people at the mercy of just life itself? I mean, when I grew up, stress was a part of my day. It was kill or be killed. It was not eating well. It was not knowing where you're going to sleep at. These kids today have so much more and they do so much less with those things. And so I want to talk to our next guest, Detrice Smith. She's a licensed master social worker, and she specializes in addiction, substance abuse, mental health issues. And I have so many questions, just like you, about what is really happening to our country, our people, and everything related to that. So today we're going to dig in with her, and I'm going to punish the game and ask as many questions as possible while I have her here. So thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you for inviting me. I'm so glad to be here. These are questions that are important to us, so I'm just glad that you are ready to ask them, and I hope I can be as much of a help.
Listen, my heart is heavy because mental illness is in my family. We've all had a cousin named Boo Radley that didn't talk. I had a cousin and aunts that just could not, for the life of them, engage socially with other people. What is it about that one person that just sits in the corner and never speaks to anyone, that maybe goes undiagnosed, that doesn't maybe get the medicine that they need to have a productive life? What does a productive life look like? I want to talk to you about that and ask you the menacing questions so that we can kind of sort of get to it, so that we can disclose some of the taboos and try to work around it. Is that okay with you?
That is perfectly fine. I'm ready.
All right, let me get my list out.
Yes.
My first question.
Yes.
Define anxiety to me.
Okay. Anxiety is a feeling of stress, a hyper feeling of stress. It's feelings of excessive worry or excessive stress.
So it's just regular old stress defined medically.
Yes.
Okay, well listen, why is it that we live in a world today where it is causing people to do more than what we have seen in the past? I mean, we all deal with stress. Can you imagine being a coal miner? Can you imagine being a lumberjack and watching trees fall down around you all the time? Well, today we're not doing any of that stuff. And so I feel like we're so much more sensitive, even considered hypersensitive. So you're saying anxiety is something that we all have.
Yes.
But what's the difference today compared to 20 years ago?
So I'll say this. So there's two different types of anxiety. There's good anxiety and there's bad anxiety. Good anxiety is when you have hit the lottery, when you're anticipating something and your body increases the level of stress. Bad anxiety is when you have a lot of worry. So you said, what's the difference now? I think the difference now is we have given our children more, but they have done less for it.
Yeah.
So now when they feel something that's not comfortable for them, they automatically go into panic mode.
Okay, even sometimes shut down.
Yes, they'll shut down.
So are you saying that we just don't have the coping skills in today's generation compared to previous generations?
Not only do we not have the coping skills, we don't have the social skills.
Oh, that's a punishing point, and I'm getting to that. I want to kind of frame the idea of, is today's kid different than previous generations, or is it just a different generation and everything is different? I mean, I don't understand what's happening.
I'll say this. So what we all have done as parents is said we don't want our children to go through what we've been through, right? Mm-hmm. And so some of that was good, but some of it was also bad, because some of it that we went through shaped and built us to be the person and have the character that we have. So now we had those tools to deal with certain things because we saw mom and dad deal with them. We saw a light bill come that was due, and we saw them work towards getting it done.
Yeah.
Well, now we make everything look so simple for our kids.
Yeah.
Everything looks so easy. So when something happens to them, it's the end of the world.
It's the end of the world. Shut down, go in a room, can't function for weeks at a time. Now listen, that brings me to a real question. Is parenting the problem with the product that we have in our children today?
I'm not going to say it's the problem, but I think we could have done things better, because I'm also guilty of that.
Yeah, me too.
I'm very much guilty of that. And so we don't let our children see our problem solving skills. We protect them from those things, but they need those things
To their detriment.
to be productive
To
in
their
society.
detriment. We
Yes.
protect them to their detriment.
Correct.
And that's the reason why today's average young person between 20 and 30 live at home with their parents.
Absolutely. And it is said that young adults deal with more feelings of isolation,
Yeah.
more feelings of anxiety and depression.
Well, I'll be honest with you. It's nerve-wracking to talk to a stranger.
Yes.
And if you don't have a tribe of friends and you didn't grow up with them and you didn't have kids interacting inside of the lunch line, then you'll have a whole bunch of adults that are isolated, that are not communicating with each other, that don't have social circles, don't have friends. And I mean, that's the America we live in today. I mean, like, social media has done a great help in helping us find our old classmates.
Yes.
But we have 3,000 connections, but we only have 3 connections. And so I feel like that's the same reason why the labor force is in trouble. And so the reason that businesses war is because now you're not giving the employer a quality enough employee with social skills and problem solving skills, and now the money is in trouble. And here comes this wonderful woman named AI. She's coming for the job because
Yes.
apparently we're not producing the people to be able to do it.
And the reason is because we're digitally connected, but we're emotionally disconnected.
Man, say that again.
We are digitally connected, but emotionally we're disconnected. And that has a lot to do with pandemic. It has a lot to do with us protecting our kids.
So you mentioned pandemic,
Yes.
and we all know it in this generation as COVID-19. So I believe that it probably set humanity back because not only did we lose valuable time socially, we lost so much time economically. We lost time in every possible way because it stood still for a little while.
Yes.
And I can almost liken that to going to jail, which I don't ever want to do. But if you ever go to jail, you walk in, time stops, and you come back out. Time was moving while you were out, but you missed it. That's why so many people come back from jail and they're like, their fashion is out of date because they just lost the time that they were in there.
Yes.
Well, if you look at the comparison to COVID-19, we lost 1 calendar year plus all the momentum of society.
What we really lost is human interaction.
Yeah.
We lost what we're known for. Our culture here in New Orleans is that we are the most friendliest, the most outgoing people. We walk down the street and we
Not
used to
anymore.
speak to strangers. That's
Not
what
anymore.
We lost that.
I think we did.
We lost our human interactions. We lost our hospitality.
So what did COVID do to mental health?
So what it did is it took emotional intelligence and it collapsed it into a hyper-connective world.
Okay.
So it's like we don't feel anything anymore. We're not having those emotional connections with each other. They're having hyper connections with the cell phones. If you take your cell phone out of a child's hand,
They'll fall apart like a cheap suit.
they think something bad happens. They think, am I punished? Is something wrong? What did I do? How about it's time to eat? We have a thing in our family what we call check your phone at the table for dinner time.
Okay.
We have to check our phones in the middle of the table. When we first started to do that, you should have saw everybody, even myself, was guilty as trying to see if you could see if your phone ringing.
So no phones at the table.
No phones at the table. Dinner time, when we have dinner time, and that's what we have to do. We have to start bringing back one little thing a day.
Okay, well, listen, that must be a 5-minute dinner because I can't make it 5 minutes without my phone.
You're going to have to learn. It's a learning thing. Everything is the same way we learned how to be isolated during the pandemic. We're going to have to learn how to socially connect all over again, and it starts at home. So what we do at my house is we check our phones at the table, and we have 30-minute dialogue. Everyone gets a chance to speak.
Yeah.
You have to bring something to the table.
That's interesting because you speak about the family dynamic, and guess what? I believe that that's been lost because today, like I told my previous guest, that the average person today at the age of 30 doesn't have a child, and so there are countries like Japan that have a lot of real estate that's going unlived in because the population is dwindling. The baby boomers are aging out. I would say that, the next generation still had a solid base of kids, but we're not having enough children to maintain the U.S. population. And how do you do that if nobody's talking to each other in these younger generations?
Well, statistics show that 60% of adults are dealing with isolation.
Right now, as we speak, they're dealing with isolations, they're dealing with interpersonal skills. So in order for us to bring our communities back up, in order for us to recreate life, procreate, we're going to have to start having those small conversations. We're going to have to having one conversation at a time. If you think about it, school did that for us.
Yes.
School was the socialization platform for everybody.
Yes.
You would go to school, whether it be kindergarten to 12th grade, and then college, which was the glory times, because everybody had a little confidence. They had the
Yes.
youthful benefit of their bodies. They could go to college, and the girls would dress a certain way, and the guys would show their shirts off and whatever. And we had the normal chemistry,
Yes.
the chemical availability of testosterone driving young men to ask a girl for her information. But today, we're not doing none of that.
And a lot of it is because isolation brings on feelings of self-guilt. It brings on feelings of depression. It brings on what is wrong with me. Everybody thinking, you're looking at the internet and you're seeing everybody else's world is going. But the internet, and I tell my children all the time, could be a complete lie.
Oh, it is a lie. I understand that altogether.
Yes.
So you said the word depression.
Yes.
What is depression?
So depression is excessive feelings of sadness. It's simple, excessive feelings of sadness, excessive feelings of loneliness.
Well, shit, I'm sad right now.
I feel sad sometimes too. Yes,
I'm sad right now.
And we have to, and I always tell, my staff, I tell my cohort, sometimes we have to trick ourselves out of it. We have to talk ourselves through it, just like business. We had to learn how to do business. You're going to have to learn how to treat your anxiety and your depression. It's something that you can do. That's why we say as therapists, you have to do the work.
Yes. Okay. All right. So depression is a consistent feeling of sadness.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I've lived with that most of my life, but I don't have an option as to quit or to give up. So I just keep going because that's the mental fortitude that I got as a young man, developing grit, putting in the reps, chopping wood, knowing that at some point the tree is going to fall in my way. Now, I say that to say that, I pity no man more than a rich man's son. That is one of the most profound things that has always stuck with me, is that I wanted to make sure that I didn't not help my next generation. And that's kind of hard today because, I don't want to keep beating a dead horse, but man, that anxiety, depression, mental illness, would you say that a person can be sad or depressed or anxious for so long that they develop a mental illness?
Absolutely.
Okay, so now we got
Absolutely.
now we got to unpack that.
Yes.
So you're telling me that we got generations that are not as capable because we've had successes that they have been the recipients of.
Correct.
And they now are not communicating. They're not having friendships. They're not having relationships. Their interpersonal skills are not there. They've done it for so long. Now we got a generation of mentally ill because it's been developed.
Correct. And so now we have to, how do you fix that? How do you fix that?
I have zero idea.
I can tell you some ways that we can fix it. Even in the workplace, we can do, we used to have check-ins, or what we would call the morning huddle.
Okay.
No one huddles anymore because COVID happened, so everybody was isolated. Everybody was 6 feet apart. We have to bring those things back. It's small, simple things. Small, simple things like a 10-minute mentor talk. We had mentorships.
Yes.
We had someone that you looked up to in your community that you can talk to. And that's what we have to do. We have to connect. Even if you have a friend who have a friend who have a son, it's your job now, it's our job as the parents to now bring them together, because we know the problem, and they're still our kids. They're still our generation to save. We helped create it. We're going to have to help fix it.
Let me give you something to think about. When was the last time you heard of a high school that had a dance or a function or a formal and everybody got dressed up and took a trillion pictures and had the time of their life? Right now, I know a high school right now where they just shut down the whole prom, the winter formal, and any of the other functions because nobody was attending them in zero numbers.
Correct.
And I cannot imagine what my high school would have been like if I didn't put on a tuxedo that my mom made. And yes, my mom was a seamstress and made me a freaking tuxedo and a cummerbund and bow tie. And so I'm like, wow, I got a chance to just go socialize. Went out there and danced and made a fool of myself and embarrassed the hell out of myself. But at the same time, the adrenaline of living was in me.
And so that's what we have to do. That actually just happened. My godson and my nephew are football players at Nakar. And so the winter, what was it, the homecoming dance just came up. They didn't want to go, but they're also football stars. But when you have that elevated sense of cameras on you, they also have a lot of anxieties. They have a lot of insecurities. So they did not want to go. We had to force them to go. And sometimes that's what we have to do our kids. We have to be the parent. We have to be the parent.
Yeah,
and
because
so
you know what we're doing?
They'll thank you later.
They'll thank us later, but you know what? We're trying to be their friend. And I'll tell you
Correct.
something.
We don't want to make them mad.
I don't think that, I don't care about them because I'm paying for it. But listen, I think that's probably not a great policy, is to be the friend of your child.
Correct, it's not. But we've done it for so long because we want them to have a better life than we had. We want them to be okay. But we don't realize we went through some stuff.
Yeah.
But we're okay.
So let's talk about mental health rather. So for me, mental health has always been taboo. It's always been somebody's acting crazy. Do you know that the average person doesn't understand that if your hand is hurting, someone's chemical brain could be arguably hurting or unbalanced? And so as a result, they can't function the same way that you or I do, and they don't have the same faculty as you or I do, and they don't have the same composition, the ability to communicate or to express themselves. Mental illness shows itself in a lot of different formats. And so the older I got, the more I tried to understand it, because as I started to lead people in business, I realized that everybody didn't register the same answers to the test. They didn't register the same responses to the questions. And they just, they came from different walks of life, different ethnicities, different skill sets, different brain types and whatnot. And so the more I kind of started to look at it, we all have a level of mental illness in us, but it's our survival skills, our instincts. And so I say this because I know AI is coming for the job, but I want to talk about what is the health crisis in America when it comes to mental health and getting people the treatment and support that they need if they have an issue.
I think the first thing we have to do is make mental health a household word.
Okay.
We have to break the stigmas. The same way you treat your physical health, you have to treat your mental health. So when our kids come home from school and we say, how are you doing? How are you feeling? We need to say, how's your mental health today?
And so you're saying you want them to identify
Check.
You want a kid to be able to identify his or her mental health at an early age.
Yes.
To be aware of it.
To be extremely aware of it. So once we're aware of it, knowing is half the battle.
Okay.
So we have to first be able to help them through it. And I always say, use your words. Use your words to express to me how you feel. Because sometimes, a lot of times, my children, I have two girls, one 23 and one 11. The 11-year-old is more vocal. The 23-year-old, she's more of a mystery. And so I've always told her, I say, use your words to express to me how you're feeling. And she would say, but Mom, I just don't feel good. And I say, are you sick? Do you need medicine? No, I don't need any medicine. Do you have a fever? No, I don't have a fever. Well, what doesn't feel good? My tummy doesn't feel good. Okay, so is it a stomach ache? It's not a stomach ache. It happens to be anxiety, but they don't know how to say it's anxiety.
Wow. So what you're basically doing is you're making her deduce and to actually identify what the issue is.
Yes, you have to use your words.
Versus just, I don't feel right, and I'm going to just leave it at that. You're making them quantify exactly what it is so that you can bring a level of awareness to their decision in the process.
Correct.
I like it.
And we can talk about it. And we can talk about it. What made you feel like that?
So why these kids don't want to talk to their parents now?
Because they don't feel comfortable talking to their parents. They're ashamed. They're embarrassed because people have told them that if you feel anxiety and depression, you are crazy or you're not normal. But the reality of it is 25% of all children and young adults in America are dealing with increased feelings of anxiety.
So that's 1 in 4 kids has anxiety in some capacity.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I think probably more than that, but I think that 1 in 4 number is, go ahead.
This is what elevated. So it increased 25% more after the pandemic.
So is there something in the food?
I think that I always say, you are what you eat.
That is unquestionably the truth.
Yes, you are what you eat. So we have to make sure that we are allowing people to know that what they eat is a chemical combination to how they react.
Let me tell you something. I can drink an alcoholic beverage, 1, maybe 2, but 3, I'm done. And I'm done in a situation where I'm sweating all night and I ain't getting up to work on time the next day. And so the reason I say that is because then there are the other people who can drink the whole bottle and go to work the next day and have 0 issues. So what that tells you is that everybody's body is going to receive things differently.
Correct.
So we could be eating the same diet but have different responses from it.
Correct.
And even including obesity and things of that nature. So you're right. You are what you eat.
You are what you eat, but you also build a tolerance for it. So the more you do anything, the better you become at it, even if it's drinking.
Yeah.
So the more you can take, the more you consume. And I tell people all the time, your brain runs our chemistry. It runs on chemistry, not caffeine.
Let's talk about the brain. So, what makes a person an addict?
What makes a person an addict is excessive, hyper-focused feelings of one desire that is more than commonly requested.
So when does a person lose control of their faculties for something of a substance that they cannot control?
Usually it is attached to a mental health issue.
Really?
Yes.
Ooh.
It is usually attached to a mental health.
You're going to make some people unhappy with that one.
We're doing something to hide something. So we're doing something.
So that's what the term substance abuse means.
Yes, it's substance abuse. You're abusing a substance to pretty much package up what you're really feeling.
So Donald Trump has called drug dealers terrorists. And I got to be inclined to say I may not always agree with the commander-in-chief in that regard, but this might be something that I can get behind. He said that people who sell drugs are terrorists, and that's why he's blowing boats up in the Gulf of Mexico that's carrying drugs and all the other kind of stuff. There are people that are defending the drugs, and I don't even understand it, but I think that that's kind of maybe important. I'll tell you why. You got 2 types of people that can take something, the one that can tolerate it and the one that can't.
Correct.
And so it shouldn't be easy for people to get poison to put into their bodies, especially at tender ages.
And what I try to tell people is, no, it shouldn't be that easy. Number one, because they can find it any and everywhere.
Yeah, they can. You can find drugs quicker than you can a job.
My daughter told me she saw a mom. Someone had an Adderall on the floor at school, and somebody else picked it up and took it.
Take the wheel. Jesus, take the wheel.
This is something, how do they even know it's an Adderall?
Yeah.
Because the children can now take a picture of it through AI, and it'll identify exactly what the pill is.
That's right.
So is that a benefit for them, or is it a burden for them, or is it a burden for us?
I got to tell you something. When I was growing up, I didn't have access to weed. But today's kid has access to weed, which completely slows them down, dumbs them up, and oh, well, I take it for medical reasons. Listen to me, that's addict talk. You're never going to convince me that taking a hallucinogen or a substance, depression, dopamine inhibitor, whatever it is, class 12, 13, I don't care. You're never going to convince me that a person can take and smoke a joint and then go past the bar or, go past the ACT test. Or how about this? Let's do open heart surgery. I'm not interested in that.
Neither am I, because you're not operating in your full mind capacity. But let's talk about the access. Why you say you didn't have access to it. We were lucky to have a beeper,
yes.
right?
A pager.
A pager. The drug dealers now, you can Google, you can look up on Instagram the weed person.
The weed plug.
Yes.
See, I don't like that shit.
The plug.
I don't like that at all.
So they all have access to it now. They can get the phone number. This is things that people can, in any walks of life. And it's really sad. It's nothing to combat it.
You want to know
something? They can get access to it.
Let me tell you something. There was a time back in the day when integrity was everything and family was everything, and you protect your family. If you sold drugs to certain families in certain cities, they would beat the drug dealer up, and that's not the case today. And so, I'm still that kind of a person. But then you got to ask, why is your kid buying drugs?
Correct, and it goes back to mental health. And when we do therapy sessions with kids, I let them know, when you take these substances, the feelings that you're trying to suppress, are they still there? Mm-hmm. And so I try to get them to see that it's not going to help it. We're going to have to treat the problem and not try to pacify it. Because all a substance is just a pacification of what you really feel.
Kicking the can down the road.
That's it.
And most of the times when you come back to sobriety, you're worse than you left.
Absolutely, because the problem still exists. And it deepens, and it widens, and it strengthens. And so I try to get them, if we can identify it now, it's just like identifying, we got to remember, we got to use this mental health as the same as we do physical health. The same way they say, if you catch cancer in the first stage, it's easier to be treated. It's the exact same way with stress, depression, anxiety.
What about addiction?
Addiction.
You're saying that an addict can be an addict, but if they don't find their abusing directive, they won't go down that road.
If an addict could be an addict, but if they have their mindset to identify what caused me to be an addict and to treat that issue, then it's quicker for us to help you to reroute your direction.
I'm an addict. I'm addicted to money.
So am I.
I'm addicted to success. I mean, like, I work 7 days a week. I'm a complete junkie for it. But if I ever had to lose my life for something, losing all my teeth for meth, giving my liver to alcohol, giving my brain's cognitive function to weed, and any of the uppers or downers or anything else, I mean, like, I'm addicted to trying to look my best and feel my best and be the absolute best. And if that addiction gives my family and friends a better life, then I'm all for being a complete addict. But not to my detriment. That's the point
not
I'm
to
making.
your detriment.
So what I'm saying to you is that this is how I deal with my obsessive compulsive behavior. I'm completely on 10 all the time. I'm always full of energy. The point I'm making is I just couldn't go the other way with that same energy. I had to go this way.
So let me say that. So it's two things we're going to impact what you're speaking about. Number one is, you said, you have an addiction to making money
and success.
Success, okay. And it could be good and bad.
Okay.
So, but you chose that addiction over one that can hurt or harm you.
I have a million different vices that could take me down, but I'm embarrassed of them, and I will never let them compromise the life that I've built for myself.
Correct.
I don't have that many years left, because let me tell you something. The older you get, you start dealing with mortality.
Yes.
Hey, my back doesn't feel good.
My eyes doesn't see.
My eyes can't see. I can't remember something.
Correct.
All these things are the signs of you getting a little bit older and a little bit wiser, but also a little bit slower.
Yes.
And so as I compromise with that, I'm thinking, I ain't got so many good years left, and I can't blow it on a bottle.
Correct.
I can't throw my money away in the club.
Correct.
And so I'm still, I don't know, is that maturity or is that?
So let me say this, because I have that same addiction, but I can tell you that it can also harm you, because when
Tell me how that's gonna hurt. Tell me, how does that hurt you?
Because it can also cause stress on your body.
Chasing a dream can be stressful.
Chasing it, yes. We have to remember to take self-care days. We have to remember to take breaks. We have to remember to, be in the moment. Sometimes we miss things because we're so busy chasing a dream. We miss valuable things in our family members' lives because we're chasing a dream, or we're chasing finances. Sometimes it causes panic attacks when you get just that close and you just got one more, and it can cause you a panic attack and it becomes harmful to your body. I actually had a stroke at 25 years old.
Jesus. So that's just a blockage? How did that go?
It's an increased cost of stress. It's an increased cost of stress or eating bad, but mostly it's on your mental and your physical health and how we're treating it. So you know what they say, stroke kills?
Yes.
Because worrying kills. Excessive thoughts about
We've all heard that stress can kill.
Yes.
We've all heard that stress can kill. Mm-hmm. But let me go ahead and bring you back to my upbringing. So, if being hungry hurts, I think I'll take the stress of working too hard. If not having money for the light bill that you spoke of earlier hurts, I'll take the stress of working 7 days a week. And I'll also take the stress of having money and people always asking me for it. And I'm getting better at dealing with that, but that's another topic for another podcast. But getting back to stress, I just feel like depression, anxiety, stress, I can no longer just charge it off to being something that only the weak have and struggle with, because we all have our levels of whatever that is. I just feel like we're not doing what we have to do because our kids are not getting better. And until we identify it as a pandemic level, an epidemic level, then I don't know what's next. Because if AI is replacing every working job that does redundancies and repetitive tasks, what young man is going to have any level of pride, or young woman that's going to have any level of relevance if we don't have a job for them?
Correct. So I'm going to address two things you said about how we are chasing and trying to get more and more wealth. So we're building all of that for our kids, right?
Okay.
But if your self-worth depends on your net worth, then you'll never feel rich.
True.
Because why? Financial stresses, the financial stresses of our body causes us emotional well-being.
Financial stress is just as real as mental stress or health stress or anything else.
Yes.
That is true.
Yes.
I've actually been faced with every bad thing financial you can possibly imagine. Okay, this car is too much, that ain't enough, this house ain't big enough, that stuff really does add up. And I'm sure that it does impact your body.
But you got to have balance. The same way you balance your books for your business, you got to balance your mind.
I don't think I do that.
You probably don't, Elliot, but we're going to have to try it.
Okay, so you're saying that even I have to take breaks and try to work on things?
Yes, because financial risk, financial stresses cause us to have anxiety risk by 56%.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna tell you, I'll take rich people problems over poor people problems any day, and that goes back to my roots being strong enough to actually let me flourish and tree out. And so, yes, you're right, and I got to remember that there's two sides to every coin. So I will do a little bit better job at that.
But I'll tell you this: there's been a story, and you could probably look it up, about a rich man who made $2-3 million, but he was so depressed he couldn't even spend it.
Well, give me his money and I'll show you how to find happiness, because there's a clear conversation that if you rich and you miserable, then you don't know how to spend your money, because I'm looking for anybody who got that problem. You can come over here and I can help you with that. That is definitely the truth.
So you feel like money make you happy?
No, but it allows you to fix tires and have oil changes for cars that break down, and when the heat is necessary. There are so many things that you can do with money. And so I've been on the other side. I once heard that every valuable lesson that you're ever going to need to learn in life come from being broke. Stay with me now. Because Can you imagine being born on home base? You ain't got no bases to run. You ain't got nothing to try to get up for and work on. That in itself right there is a miserable existence. But because I wasn't born on home base, I wasn't even born in the playing field. Okay, I had to get me a jersey before I can walk through the doors. So then I done went ahead and started making my rounds around the bases, and I'm thinking, why would I stop? Why not?
But I tell you this, having more money kind of does equal more problems. And that's where people's feelings of isolation come from. Because then you start thinking, do you love me for me or do you love me for my money?
I don't care, because as I get older, at this point right now, the clock is ticking and I only got 25, 30 years left. Listen, I don't care at this point.
So you're okay with...
The reason I'm going to tell you why I'm okay, because if you start picking your friends right now, let's say you're going to say, okay, I'm looking for 2 friends, male and female. Let me describe them. Smart, intelligent, strong, and financially straight, healthy, intelligent, and all those other wonderful things. Well, I hate to tell you, a pillar of success kind of can couple with whether or not your finances are in order. Can you imagine being a great person, but you're a financial wreck with a negative checking account and no financial value, can't swipe nothing, can't buy nothing, refrigerator empty? Okay, well, why would you want to be that person's friend?
You wouldn't.
So let me just go ahead and tell you that I think it should be one of the pillars, because we still do live in the easiest country in the world to make a living.
I do agree with that. And so even with business owners, I always tell them to always try to get you one friend that you can bounce ideas off.
That's right.
If there's a business owner, and you can also try to de-stress, because it helps you to decrease isolation. Yeah. Because you're no longer alone.
So let me give you an example.
And it helps you
when you walk in the store.
Decisions.
When you walk in the store, do you just look at the price of everything, or do you look at what you need and try to get out the store?
Well, at this point in my life, I'm looking at what I need and what I, trying to get out. But
now, isn't it more stressful?
Years ago,
isn't it more stressful walking in the store with the calculator trying to add everything up before you get to the checkout line?
Well, I can tell you this: it's more stressful for me to walk into the store, so I just order it from home.
And I'm gonna be real with you. I think that's a problem.
You know why it probably is a problem? But when you're a person that's an overachiever, you don't even make time to make groceries.
Okay, so let's talk about that. The way that you can tell if you are rich or poor in today's time is, what do you try to save? Time or money? If you are comfortable with the convenience store charging $12 for a gallon of milk because you don't have time to go anywhere else, then that's a conversation. But if you're going to drive across town to save $6 on the milk, then you just burnt gas and lost your time because you was trying to save money. And so that's the financial timing, the financial equation that I oftentimes give people. What do you try to save, time or money?
So that's kind of glass half empty, half full?
I don't know. You tell me. That's a real answer. Yes. That's how you can tell where your finances are. What do you try to save, time or money?
So time, when it comes to time, you need to make time for self-care, right? So if you're constantly working, constantly putting in, different proposals for business, and you have to take some self-care time. If not, you are killing your body. You are causing your body a chemical imbalance.
And you're saying the body can't handle this?
The body cannot handle this.
Well, let me ask you a question. Listen, back in the day, if your last name was Carpenter, guess what? You were a carpenter. If your last name was Painter, guess what? You had a brush and you were painting. And so people were born into generational businesses. It's just what it was. Mm-hmm. People did that for a living. That was their livelihood. Today, when you give a child the chance to pick their own career, and they don't know anything at the age of 18, and they're getting ready to go grab $200,000 in student debt, you think that's a good idea?
So let me say this. We train ourselves for everything else, right? Mm-hmm. Why not go to therapy to train our brain so that they can make better decisions?
That is an amazing question, and it's a shame that our health gurus and FDAs and everybody else that thinks for the safety of the human being hasn't figured out a way to implement therapy and implement wellness and health and mental health into a standardized, curriculum of life.
Correct, because if you go to the gym to get physically conditioned, you going to get therapy. It doesn't make you weak. It gives you mental conditioning.
I don't think I've ever looked at the brain in the sense that it has needed help.
Yes.
I've never looked at it like that.
It needs help. You wouldn't run a marathon without a coach.
Correct.
So why would you run a business without somebody that you can bounce therapeutic ideas over what's going on in your mind?
I help a lot of people with their business, but you know what? I don't get enough help for mine. And
we all need that emotional training.
I bet we do. And let me tell you, I use a lot of online resources, you know, and I can get little nicks and knacks from here and there, but I don't really get help with my business. I think about what's next and I work on the execution of it, and I'm growth minded, and it kind of happens because I'm just determined like that. But people call me today, Elliot, 1, 2, 3, ABC, 1, 2, 3, whatever that case might be. And I really give them sound advice. And I ask the basic pragmatic questions. How could you spend that and you don't have it? Why would you go there and you've never been there?
Because, those questions, people or the person closest to you may not even want to ask you.
Yeah.
But that's why it's good. It's almost like you're giving therapy to your client.
I do give therapy to my clients, and I do it willingly and graciously because I want to see them be successful, but at the same time, I don't want to ever do anything for them. I told a young lady today, I said, I don't think you want to be in this business because you spend more time asking me my thoughts than actually thinking for yourself and working in your own business and trying to master your craft. Because what she did was, she made a lot of investments throughout her life and then just opened a restaurant. And I'm like, you can't just open a restaurant at 55?
Without doing your due diligence and research.
You know, and I'm like, my God, you don't even know how to fry chicken. So like, what in the world, you know? So you just gonna outsource all of the labor and just pay for it. How long can you just pay for it with the smallest margins in business right now?
And that's why I'm saying peak performances start with inner balance. Therapy is your mental gym. She needs a therapist.
I'm going to get me one. I'm looking for some. I'm going to get me a therapist tomorrow. And guess what? I'm not going to be going through the yellow pages looking for a deal. I'm going to absolutely execute.
Get you a good therapist.
If you got a recommendation, I'll take that.
I have some for men who, because let me say this, when you're looking for a therapist, you want to look for somebody who can relate to you, kind of relate to your situation.
I don't want to do it. I want a woman.
You want a woman?
Yeah.
And so let me tell you why. People who cannot understand your cultural diversities, they may not be the best therapist for you.
Is that okay? Do we have to still keep saying that? Meaning, this person can't understand me because they don't look like me, they don't think like me, sound like me. That's probably true. However, how do we know if that's what we need more of the same? Or I'm only pushing back saying that, dang, you don't have to necessarily understand my struggle in order to know how to communicate with me.
Correct. And that's why you look for therapist backgrounds. They will tell you, most therapists will list the different things that they've been through, how they grew up. And so you look for something to relate to. To say, you know what, they can probably understand my perspective. You're not necessarily looking for them to be in the same diversity as you.
Just commonalities.
Just commonalities, because you want someone to kind of relate to you or what you've been through, and so that's what you want. You want to do your research. Would you just go out and start working out at a gym and not look to see if the trainer is somebody that's going to do the type of training you feel like you need?
So, not to pivot too far, but tell me, what is social work?
Social work is, so I can tell you this, I've always been told you are a natural social worker by heart.
Yeah, that's almost like a school teacher, right?
Yes, you have to be called to this field, because I tell people all the time, being a social worker is like having a battery that's full. And every time we go in session, we drain it. And then we have to go home and we have to have, most of us need to have balanced lives to refuel again, so that when we come back to session, we can refuel your battery. So social work is nothing but a compassion for others that help you work through your struggles, what we call them, our messes.
So you really are a therapist?
I'm a therapist.
Do people get better?
They get absolutely better. I've seen, and that's why I like journaling. I tell all of my clients, journal from the first day and then see you do the work. And then if you are committed to getting better, I actually became a therapist because I felt like my life was so messed up. It was going to be cheaper for me to become a therapist than to continue to go through therapy my entire life.
I understand that.
So I always need someone to bounce ideas off. This world can absolutely become lonely sometimes. And then we grew up to where you can't tell people your business. Keep everything that happens in my household, I don't want to hear it repeated, right? And so a therapist is bonded to confidentiality.
They are, but I will tell you that there are some responses to the things that have made us great and not so great. Case in point, you just said that we were taught to be quiet about things that was going on in our house or whatever the case might be. Well, the flip side of that is now people say it loud, they say it proud, they say it with rambunctious, and you see that in the genders. You see that in lifestyles. You see people unapologetic for their life and their choices to the point to where it's a brazen, it's out, it's I mean, the cat's out of the bag, as they say. And you can see that in, like I said, sexualities and stuff like that. Like, it used to be gay people were quiet. Now they're like, oh, it's 2025. Not only am I out, I don't care. I'm the dude wearing high heels. To each his own. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying that, we no longer use discretion. We use whatever we want to because it's our one and only life.
I'll ask you a question. When was the last time you heard people use the word morals and values?
No, it's been forever.
Because we've got away from morals and values. And so that's what therapy helps you to get back to, your core reason of why.
Okay, let me think about that so I once had a man ask me, what is the number one question every man should ask themselves and answer it? And I said, maybe their why or whatever the case might be, to identify what makes you do what you do. Why do you tick? And he was like, yeah, kind of. But the basic question is, why shouldn't I kill myself? And as a man, I know the answer to that. And I know it with arrogance, with energy, with meaning. I know that answer. And so a lot of people today can't answer that question. And they struggle with that. And that goes back to that mental health thing that you said, where, we're isolated. We're not a part of a tribe. We're not healthy. We don't have, man, listen, the guys in my office, all we do is rib each other. All we do is, ride each other and mess with the shoes. And, we just do whatever we have to do because that's our camaraderie. I got that out of the military. Well, today, these kids are not friends. They're not communicating with each other. They're not pushing on each other and poking and prodding and having a good time at it. And that's where nicknames came from. Today, these kids don't have nicknames.
They really don't. And, we grew up being resilient. But some of us being resilient, being able to get through things, it also silenced us. It made us more silent. And so when we were being more silent, we didn't talk about some of the traumas that we were dealing with. We didn't talk about some of the things that affected who we are now. We kept them secret. Well, being quiet doesn't make you courageous.
Correct. And whatever you sweep under the rug, it's going to come back at some point.
Absolutely.
All right. So listen, what does today's 20-year-old kid do that is socially awkward, just out of high school, struggling through college, 20-year-old girl, boy, doesn't matter, or other, what do they do today to find themselves a place where they can be successful and have some wins?
I can tell you this. The first thing is they need someone to communicate their thoughts to. Right? They need to be able to express what they're feeling. Whether, everybody may not be open to just therapy right now, but therapy is a performance tool.
Okay.
It's a tool for performance. So if you're trying to do better at something, going to therapy, it's not a luxury. It's a performance to help you get to where you're trying to be.
Yeah. Okay. I got it. I got to get me a therapist.
You need a therapist.
I'm going to get me a therapist.
Yeah.
Can she be pretty though?
She could be pretty.
Okay, my bad. So listen, I like that. I like what you're saying. Every athlete, professional athlete needs a coach, a trainer, people to help them get the massages, keep them operating at a peak performance level.
Yes.
You're saying that even the brain needs reset.
Yes. You have to reset in order to reshape. Normalized mental health check-ins are good. They help to create balance. They help to build confidence. Mm-hmm. And they help to help you to understand the importance of self-care. Mm.
So I think I'm going to become a big advocate for therapy and mental health check-ins.
Yes.
So if I could give a listener a piece of advice, it would be to find a young person to mentor and to have a healthy level of communication with, to speak with them, to talk to them, to give them a place of comfort in conversation, because you never know what people are dealing with.
Yes.
And I know for a fact that suicide happens every day, all the time, right up under our noses, and we never see the warning signs.
Correct. You want to know why?
Why?
Everybody is focused on pandemic mindset. It's in my household, right? No one worries about anything else that's going on around them. They care about what's going on in their household, and then we can break that up into macro. Once you're inside that household, everybody's in their separate corners.
Yeah.
So you don't even know what's going on inside your house because you're so interconnected with you that we haven't even reached out and asked those questions. Are you okay mentally today? Mm-hmm. We got to ask those questions. Mm.
But people going to lie and say they all right.
All right is not an answer. I say that all the time. All right is not an answer. I need you to put words to that feeling.
Have you met these kids today that don't speak English?
I do. And let me say this. So my daughter goes to Patrick Taylor, which is the #1 middle school in the state of Louisiana. A lot of those kids are dealing with social skills. They have a lack of social skills.
Because they all have Asperger from the sodas they drink.
Absolutely.
I'm just wondering, because remember, if you raise a child to be isolated in their phones, not communicating, man, listen, when I was growing up, I used to watch TV all the time. These kids are in that phone.
Yes.
And so when we talk about ADHD and addiction, I believe that we're training the brain with that algorithm, driving them crazy. So scrolling is the new smoking.
Because they want to pass it by.
Scrolling is the new smoking.
Yes, and let me say this. What I do to those kids at my daughter's school is they used to ask, every time they come around, I ask them questions. How you feeling? How your mama doing? How your sister doing? Nobody asks those questions. Everybody's in their own lane now, right? And they used to ask my daughter, why your mama ask so many questions? They weren't used to it. Mm-hmm. But we were used to it. Do you not remember going to the next door neighbor house and they asking, well, how your mama doing over there?
Well, let me ask you, if you had to speak to a young person today, what would you ask them?
I want to know, what do you feel inside? Tell me where it hurts. Tell me if it hurts. Because when you ask specific questions to a kid, you can feel it in their eyes if they're okay or not okay.
And you know something, to the single mom that's working 2 jobs to try to keep the lights on, she ain't really got time for that, even though she should. And she doesn't necessarily have the tools for that, even though maybe she might need to develop them, whatever the case is. I'm not making excuses. I'm just telling you that there are certain luxuries and certain things that come with access and education that everybody doesn't have. I'll be the first to tell you that as a parent, I was ill-equipped for it. It's why I'm making up in my leadership of my employees now. How are you doing? What are you dealing with? That's crazy. Why would you do that? Let's talk about it out loud. I try to give them practicality and pragmatism when it comes to their decision making. And I do this, and I have to be a person that's upstanding for them to listen to me. But I missed that whole course in parenting because I was a younger man at that point.
And we didn't know better. And let me say this, we all are guilty of it. But the way you combat that is to have those 10-minute check-ins with your son, 5 minutes. Do not use the cell phone face-to-face. Some conversations are not meant to be had over the phone.
It's the world we live in.
And we have to start getting back to building emotional connections. And like you said, with your employees, you don't know, you can save someone's life one day because you're asking them questions that they're not normalized. They're not being acts on a normal basis, or on a regular basis, I should say. So once we start to break the stigmatism of mental health or behavioral health, because everybody is scared to say those words.
Yeah. Because it's taboo, because you don't want to be the crazy kid in school.
Nobody wants to be the crazy kid.
But I'll be honest with you, all of them crazy.
He said, you said it, I didn't.
Well, the reason I say that is because, I mean, it's like, let's think about it. If you took a 10-year-old and you placed that 10-year-old by the calendar year, from 75 all the way to 2025, I would very much so say that they look completely different. I know that the time has changed. I know that the circumstances have changed, but they're just different because of skills, and those skills could include mechanical, engineering, social, athletic. I mean, today's average kid can barely run around the corner.
Correct. And it's because they are so used to being inclined to their cell phones and isolation. But I want to tell kids this: courage is not pretending that you're okay.
Okay.
Courage is being able to say, I need help before you break. That's what real courage is.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to learn to communicate, and we're going to have to learn to get them out of their shells.
Let me tell you something.
They got to get out of those rooms.
I am proud of kids for one thing today, and I want to give them their flowers for this. They don't drink as much as previous generations. They're not drinking alcohol as much. Now, obviously, the vape has come in. It is going. It ain't going all the way, but the vape is. It's not even cool anymore. 2 years ago, them little boys was blowing their lungs out, and don't know what the hell they were smoking.
No.
Thank the government for doing a little bit of work and banning some smoke shops. But let me tell you something. They had more smoke shops 2 years ago than they had barber shops.
And it's all because social media. They all want to jump on the trend.
Yeah.
What is hot right now? What makes me look cool right now?
Yeah.
But they have
Smoking on a battery pack.
Yes.
So to every young man, hear these words. No girl wants to be with some dude that's out here smoking on a Darth Vader chain, sounding like a respiratory disease waiting to happen. That's my word.
It's not cool.
No, it's not cool.
It's not cool at all.
So listen, get back in the gym. Take care of yourself. Get friends again. Be cool by being social. Get out, go to the dances, meet people.
Yes.
Go get your hair cut.
Yes.
These kids aren't even grooming like that anymore.
They're not.
The average kid today got a big old fro, regardless of color.
And they're not even sitting in the barbershops all day. Even kids used to go in the barbershops when they weren't getting their hair cut.
I remember going on a Saturday in the morning and coming out just about at night. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was the barbershop was not for hair to be groomed. It was a social interaction for males.
Yes, it was.
It was to show boys how to be men. Yes. And so you can get a perspective from someone other than your father. Yeah. It's kind of like you were being raised by all the men in the barbershop, because you look forward to that every Saturday.
Yes, we did.
And so those fathers now need to get their sons and reach out and go ahead and take them to a barbershop. Even Absolutely. The moms. Yeah. Find a barbershop that it's good role models. They don't mind you leaving them in there.
Well, on that note, I want to thank you for coming and speaking to me about addiction, mental health, therapy, social work, COVID impacts, things we can do to get better, and leaving me feeling a little bit more optimistic about the future. And so I would say today that if you are someone that's struggling with, your own personal self-worth, not only seek help, but be more open to being, available for a conversation, because you never know what happens from a conversation. Someone saying hello to you could be a life-changing event, and you should be able to receive that if that is what you would need for your life to move forward. We don't know who around us needs someone to talk to. Isolation and loneliness is a very dangerous game. It's okay to go to the movies by yourself, but it is so much fun to go with 10 people that you actually care about and that you're all on the same page doing the same things, getting popcorn and having a great time. I think we got to get back to socialization, because it's what makes us unique. Being able to laugh, camaraderie is so important. Get back into sports. Go to the barbershop, like we said. Enjoy yourself in every possible way, because you only have one life. You don't want to get to 50 years old talking about what you should have did. Do it now, but there are consequences to everything. So just make sure that you measure before you cut. Business is war, but so is living. And being able to do it at a high level it's the greatest gift that you can have for yourself, is to live a life worth living. Until the next time, business is war. Like, comment, and subscribe, and share. Tell everyone that we had a great episode today, and I want to thank you again for coming.
I am so excited that I was here.
I'm happy you came because, like I said, I feel like I'm going to be better. Until next time, business is war. My name is Elliot Foreman, and have a great one.